Warm welcome along to you. This is Chris Reardon with United Kingdom Talk. Hello, how are you, dears? It's been a bit of a day for me so far today, I must say. But I'll save it for the end of the show. All right, some very sad news for you right at the end of the show, though. Meanwhile, we need to clear the email. We really need to clear the emails because I've still got emails here that arrived just before, or rather on Christmas Day, and just after Christmas Day as well. So I shall do my best. We must clear these today, dear. No more chitter-chatter, okay? Right, here we go then. First of all, I must thank Suko for passing me on a story that's written by one of our listeners, Stephen Garside, who's been listening to the show for a while. I think, if I'm right in saying, Stephen, you actually discovered the show when it used to be played on up north on one of the little stations. I know it's not on there anymore, on one of the small community stations up north. I think that's when you discovered the show. Anyway, Stephen is a writer, and he writes stories. And Suko sent me an email saying, oh, Stephen has been writing some stories. Would you like to have a look at one? So I said, yeah, send it through. And I kind of expected like one or maybe two sheets of paper, you know, like a two sheet. Do you know what I mean? Like a couple of bits of A4 paper with a story on. But lo and behold, I've got a book here that must be 10 pages long. So really looking forward to looking at this, Stephen. All right, thank you very much for that, Suko. And of course, Suko in this case has been a connector, haven't you? You've been a connector. You've connected us together. So I'll be very happy to read that story, probably in bed. What's it? It says it's called Future Mayor. Oh, just a minute. No, I can't take that phone call now, can I? One minute. Oh, dear. Right, I'm going to have to take... Just a minute. Hello, mate. All right? Oh, Jace, I'm just recording my show at the moment, mate. Yeah, about an hour. Okay, bye now, bye. Sorry about that. I'm waiting for a very important call, actually. Yes, a very important. There's awful lot going on at the moment. Some of it okay, some of it really sad. I'll tell you the sad thing at the end. If I tell you now, it will just... you know what I mean? Save it for the end. That's what I do. Anyway, this story is called Future Mayor. And it says, there's a killer on the loose in suburban America, and the only person able to stop the hooded Homer psycho is a teenage boy by the name of Billy Zinnan. On sustaining a bang to the head, on sustaining a bang to the head, Billy is somehow able to see into the future when he sleeps. However, Billy, along with his family, are in real danger. Not just from one hooded Homer, but three. And it's a race against time for young Billy Zinnan to finally convince his mum and dad he's been telling the truth before it's too late. And then you get the story. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Thank you, Stephen and Suko for both those items. Oh, by the way, there's an email address to the show. If you want to join it at any time, please feel free to do so. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Okay then, first of all, let's say hello to CW in Victoria, Australia. And I haven't heard from you for months, Chris. I do wonder when we get regular people who email the show and suddenly you hear nothing from them, you kind of wonder, I wonder what's happened to those. You know, you do think it's a little bit like working in the clubs. As you probably know, my main job is, well, I mean, I don't think it is my main job anymore, actually. I'm a club DJ. I also do karaoke and a bingo thing called Bingo. And in that situation, when you are in a venue for a long period of time, as I've mentioned many times before, and people come every week in, week out, you see them, hello, and then they just disappear. And the funny thing is, now that I've been doing the show for a little over, is it 2 or 5, 6, 7, 8, a little over 3 years now, the same thing is starting to happen. People who have emailed for ages and ages, suddenly disappear. And you wonder what's happened to them. So, CW in Victoria, Australia, thank God you're still there. He says, good day, Chris. That's an Australian expression, incidentally. Good day. Chris from Victoria, Australia here. Just wanted to wish you and yours a very happy Christmas, matey. I know. I know it was 3 weeks ago now, but I'm sorry. We're catching up. We're still catching up. It's my fault for rabbiting on the last couple of shows about visits to my sisters and what have you. So it's been some time since I last wrote, but I've been really busy volunteering at my community radio station once again as one of the announcers moved on to bigger and better things and has left us in quite a situation. Well, CW, you may now be in a situation, but over the years, I've learned that seems to be a pretty good way of getting somewhere. For example, again, looking into the sort of club scene, if you get a really good DJ in a venue that you want to DJ at, you can't get the job until he's either sacked or moves on. So if you just hang around in the background, then if something happens like that, whether he leaves or whatever, then you're ready. Do you see? That's how you have to get a lot of these jobs. You can't get them even if, for example, you think that you are better than the DJ that's there at the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the job, especially if the guy or girl is reliable, always turns up, may not be the best DJ in the world, but I think reliability in a lot of things these days can be as if, or if not even more important than how good you are at the actual job. Now, I'm often surprised to find DJs that don't turn up, are late, end up drunk or off their heads. I'm often surprised how the hell they manage to hold on to jobs sometimes. Me, on the other hand, well, I can't drink because I drive. If I take off time sick, then I really am quite ill. But I'm always on time. As I say, never sick. And I think sometimes to a manager that's more important than being absolutely brilliant, best ever DJ in the whole world. Do you know what I'm saying? So, CW, the very fact that I'm looking at it here, it looks like your announcer there had quite an important role. Now he's gone. A gap's opened and you're filling in. That's good for you. That's really good for you. And that it's like a double benefit there because you've fallen into that job and you haven't had to take it from anyone else, you know? Again, sometimes if for example, a DJ mucks about too much, then they have to sack him, okay? The next guy that comes along, it's not so bad if you don't know the person who's not been sacked, but if you know them already, very, very difficult to take a job like that. The moralistic way to do that, say for example, and I use the example of DJs because I am one, but it could be anything. Could be anything. And it happens all the time. The old expression, that's showbiz, is so true. It really is. Say you're working somewhere and someone else is working there and they're about to get the sack. The manager rings you up and says, hello, we're going to sack so-and-so. I want you to do his job. But you know the other guy quite well. How do you deal with that? Any ideas? Do you just take the job? No, you don't. You could, but that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to have a word with the guy who's already doing that job and is about to be sacked. You say to them that the manager has told you you're going to be sacked, or they're going to be sacked, and they've asked me to do the job. What do you think? At that point, the other guy will be gutted. Absolutely and totally gutted. But if you get on together, he will understand that if you don't take the job, someone else will. And if he's got anything about him, he will say, thanks for letting me know, take the job. I've had to do that once myself. No, I didn't get anyone's job. I lost my job to someone else. Happened years ago. I was in a particular place and there were two, a manager and an assistant manager who hadn't been there long and they didn't like me. Basically, that was it. I'd been there a long time. They didn't like me. So they came to me and said, we're going to offer the job to someone else. I said, right, fair enough. And I just looked at him and laughed. He said, why are you laughing? I said, because I knew this was happening. And that annoyed him when I laughed at him. But I didn't like him anyway. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. They decided to replace me at this particular place. And I knew the guy who it had been offered to. And I approached him. I approached the guy who was about to take, well, who had been offered my job. I was pretty sure he wouldn't take it. So I took him into the back room. And I said to him, look, they want you to do my job. Do you know that? And he said, yes. I said, you have to take it. And his exact words were, but you've been here for so long. He said, and he was already doing a night there. I won't tell you his name. And he said, but you're the one that got me in here. I said, it doesn't matter. They don't like me. If you don't take the job, they will find someone else to do it. I want you to take it. And with his head low, he said, okay then. But he wouldn't have taken that job had I have not pushed him to take it. And I got great respect for that. But that's the way you do it. Okay? Maybe he would have come up to me. I think he probably would have come up to me and perhaps had a quiet word and said, look, they've offered me the job. But I got there first. And you see, the guy who's losing the job, if you go up to them like that, then it's likely they will say, if they've got their head up here, they know damn well that whatever they do, they are going to lose that job. So if they've got anything in their heads, they will say to you, take the job, because otherwise someone else would have it. Anyway, that's slightly off the point there, CW. It sounds to me like, I know you've got a lot of work on there, but it sounds to me like you're in the right place at the right time. And a lot of these jobs come along like that. They really do. Right place at right time. So, although you're working a lot and you're in a bit of a situation, you're doing a lot of work there, it's good because it's moved you up the ladder. And it's moved you up the ladder without you having to take anyone else's job, which is brilliant. All right? CW says, I just wanted you to know that I never miss a show, wherever I might be in the world at any time, and I will always be listening to you as long as you are talking to us, your loyal listeners. Oh, for God's sake, CW, I'm going to be in tears in a minute, dear. Such a nice thing to say. Here's hoping you get your long-deserved break and have a smashing new year as well. Cheers, Chris from Victoria, Australia. So thank you for that, Chris. Lovely to hear from you, sir. Do keep in contact, even if it's, I know we're all busy lives, aren't we? And even if it's like, a couple of times a year, it doesn't matter. The other thing I've learnt with, just over 3 years I've been doing this show now, that, when you first start doing something like this and you get no emails and you think, are you just sitting here talking to yourself? Is there anyone at the other end? And I don't know, after you talk to other radio people, program directors, that sort of person, and they say people are there. They just don't always write in. And after a while, you actually realise that, and I'll tell you why. After I'd been doing this show, shall we say, a year or so, you'd get emails in from people that would say, we've been listening for months and finally thought it was time to say hello. And sometimes you get a nice long email about who they are, what they do, where they are. And sometimes it's just a couple of lines. Hello, Chris, enjoy the show, from whoever. And it might say, we've been listening now for the last 9 months. And then you realise, all that time perhaps you sat there thinking that there might not be anyone there. Might not be anyone there. They are actually there. And I know that. I just wish I could see you sometimes. Instead of looking at this little thing in front of me, I do wish I could see you sometimes. There is a thing on the internet, I don't know if you've seen it, called Stickam. Stickam. And that looks quite an interesting thing. I could, on that system, do this show live, video and sound, and have live interaction from people as well. Rather than sometimes, I mean, email is just a fantastic way to communicate, isn't it? But as you know, because I rabbit away so much sometimes about what I've been up to, we don't always get around to the emails. I mean, I'm doing it now, aren't I? Here I am with a stack of emails that I want to get through. I've got a story at the end of the show to tell you as well. Hang around for that, please. Something that's been part of my life for so long. I'll tell you about it at the end of the show. And here I am, rabbiting away again. Going off onto different subjects. Being quite random. But we like random. Do you? Is your life like set in little boxes? Or do you like things that sometimes happen and, I don't know, they just happen randomly? Do you like that? I do. I do. Thank you for that, CW. Lovely to hear from you, sir. Are you the new big announcer? I wonder, what about your community station? Would you be interested in playing out my show? Just an idea. In Victoria, you know. You could have a real live English puff hosting the show. Just a thought. Oh, you call me what I like. I call myself what I like. Other people say, oh, you can't say. I can because I am one. There we are. That's it. Who's offended? Oh, get off on it, will you? Via the YouTube system, we need to say hello to, I think it's Linium. I haven't got a name for you. I'm not sure if you are someone else. No, I don't think you are. It's I don't think you're Lisa, are you? But I'm getting a bit confused because quite often, sometimes people on the YouTube, they don't put their names. Anyway, it says, I like this guy a lot. Me gustos mi amor from Peru in South America. So we've got someone in Peru as well. Welcome to you. What a lovely part of the world that seems to be. I like you've got big rainforests in Peru, haven't you? Do you have many dangerous animals lurking in the rainforest there? You see, I very much like the Daintree rainforest in Australia. Beautiful place, but it is full of some, I mean, I say full, but there are a lot of dangerous animals that go through there. You walk through there, and when I say dangerous animals, I don't mean tigers and lions, small things like spiders and snakes and like, what else they got in the ocean? They got the blue, is it the box jellyfish or the boxfish jelly or whatever it's called? It's a jellyfish. Very, very dangerous. Really dangerous. Like, they sting you and you can die. I mean, don't just think, you get a little sting, even a bad sting. Like me as an English person, when they say, oh, you might get stung by a jellyfish, I'll say, well, it a go eventually. Well, actually, no. You've got a good chance of dying if you get stung by one of those nasty jellyfish in Australia. I wonder, do you have dangerous animals in your Peruvian rainforest? Do let us know on the email, okay? Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. We've got to say hello to Nick Evans from BritishPages.org. He's in the States, and he's got this website is like about all things British. That various people you can sign up to and find out about a thing. And he does feature this show on there. He's got the little... maybe you're watching it now via BritishPages.org. Have a look at the site. It's www.britishpages.org. Okay? And Nick writes, hope you had a nice Christmas. I unfortunately had to work here in California. California, here I come. Da 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 da. Do you know that one? Oh, please yourself. I wish America would inherit Boxing Day, but I suppose that would be too British. Yeah, apparently Boxing Day is not I was going to say a holy day of obligation then, which only Catholics will know what they are. No, not a holy day of obligation, but apparently Boxing Day is not a bank holiday in America, which I didn't know that. So I shan't be coming over there at Christmas time, Nick. All right? Hello to Doug in Akeley, which is in the USA and not Canada. I haven't forgotten that. Doug, all right? He says, going back to your show on the 27th of December, he said, I knew you was not going to get to Suko's package. Oh, yeah, do you remember that? I picked up the package right at the beginning of the show. And I said, we'll try and get to that later. And we didn't, did we? But we've done it since. We've done it since. Nice little bits and pieces Suko sent me. They're all sitting over there at the moment. I've got to read and that lovely book. Now, where's that book? Hang on a minute. Where is it now? I think that's in my bedroom waiting to be read. And can I just go and get it? Oh, it might be up here in front of me. One minute. Is it here? Such a mess, this studio. I did have a bit of a clear out the other day of bits of paper. Do you find that in your office? Wherever you do your paperwork and what have you? These bits of paper just build up from nowhere, don't they? 1 minute. What have I done with Suko? Just a second. It might be in my bedroom. 1 minute now. There it is. Found it. Here we are. Because, oops, just knocked something over there. What was that? Not the Union Jack over there. We are. Suko in New York, she sent me 84 Charing Cross Road. Now, I'm telling you this again because Millie in Minnesota wanted to know what the book was. So there we are. And it's about a freelance writer living in New York and a used book dealer in London. And they used to write each other letters. And it's full of those letters. So 84 Charing Cross Road is the name of the book there, Millie, because I know Millie wanted to know that as well. All right. Doug says, was laughing my bum off when he was talking about the hats. Oh, are we going back to the hats again? You know the hats, the Peruvian ones with the long pigtails. Actually, those hats wouldn't be so... But I don't mind so much the ear flaps. I understand that. It's just these darn plaits that hang down either side. It makes them look so stupid. It really does. Oh, Doug says, they may be kind of cute with a cute guy wearing one. Like you and Susan. Are you suggesting that if I put one of those hats on, they won't look very cute? I think you're probably right, Doug, to be honest. Doug also says, like you and Susan, I also get that fluttery feeling in my chest. Most of the time, it's when I get stressed out. Hope you had a good time at your sister's from Doug and Akeley. Yeah, I had a lovely time at my sister's. I'm actually toying with the idea of going up to my sister's for my birthday this year, which is on in February. February the 5th. I'm an Aquarian, just in case you were wondering. I'm going to be 46. And I'm kind of toying with the idea of going up to my sister's for my birthday. I haven't decided yet. I'm not quite sure what to do about that. But I know if I go up there, it'll be a lovely time with the children. And I know she'll get me a cake. Maybe we can go to McDonald's for my birthday. Maybe I can have one of those McDonald's parties. Yes! Oh, we should have sorted this out a long time ago. What we could have done is got as many people. I'll announce. Oh, I don't know if I should. What's the chances someone would turn up? I could announce which McDonald's I'm going to be in on my birthday and just sit in the corner. Shall I dress up like a sad, lonely old man? I'll sit in the corner with one of those Peruvian hats. Or one of those Peruvian hats. And the pigtails set on my head down. And I'll see if anyone comes over. And I bet I'll be sitting there all on my own. Would anyone turn up? Eh? Actually, it's not a very big McDonald's. It's the McDonald's in Lincoln that she goes for. Oh, I don't know. I could do that, couldn't I? What if someone turned up? I don't know what I'd do. That would throw me right off balance. If I was sitting there with my sister, there'd be little Jimmy. I know that Gary and his girlfriend Stacey would be there. And Tracy and her boyfriend, I don't know if Ben, he might be away on work. My sister would certainly be there. What if people just started coming over? Are you Chris? Oh my God, I don't know what I'd do. I honestly don't know what I'd do. So I'm toying with the idea at the moment of going up to my sister's just for my birthday. I don't know what day my birthday's on. Hang on, let me have a look on here, on my calendar thing. I need to get another calendar for the wall. Oh, it's on a Thursday. Oh, it's a bit of a dodgy day, that Thursday, really, for me. Oh, I could. Thursday, Friday. I could go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday, couldn't I? I don't know. Don't know. Might do that. Thank you, Doug. Nice to hear from you, sir. What else? What else did you say on there? Was there something else I was going to respond? Oh, yes. The fluttering in the chest. It stopped. It's completely stopped. Haven't had it now for over a week. All right? So that's that. The throat problem is still there. I've now had the antibiotics for a week. Is it better? That's the question. I think in the last show I told you it felt a tiny bit better. It does still feel a tiny bit better, but it's not sorted itself out. I've still got a sore gum right at it's right at the very back. I can touch it. I can touch it there. I can feel that there. Now I can touch it. Doesn't feel like there's any cuts or anything there. But if I get it with a toothbrush, it's sore. And I'm thinking now that the sore throat is due to the sore gum. And in which case that's another dentist visit. I think it's a bit better, the throat, but it's still not quite there yet. So that's my illness. But the heart fluttering has, not heart fluttering, the chest. It wasn't the heart. I mean, I know it wasn't the heart. You just know, don't you? The chest fluttering has completely gone. Similarly, the cough has also now completely gone. So I guess those were connected. But the throat is still being a bit of a problem at the moment. It's just fed up with it. All right. Thanks for that, Doug. Nice to hear from you. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk is the email address. All right, Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Feel free to join in. Hello to Robert in Iceland. All our regular people are with us today. We love it. We love it. Dear Chris and friends of the United Kingdom Talk Show, we, the undersigned, have taken the donkey belonging to Chris Reardon hostage. We, the organisation EARS, that stands for Elves Action Revolutionary Society, have decided to act against the verbal attack upon our leader, the King of the Elves, Robert the Viking, by Chris Reardon, host and presenter of United Kingdom Talk. That's me. The donkey is now being held at a secure location in the far north of Iceland. He wishes it to be known that's the donkey, that he loves his new home and did not like the treatment at the hands of Chris Reardon, who kept him in a box all of the time. We demand a full apology and extended credit from the British government and the cancelling of all debts. Any move to rescue the hostage will be dealt with by our special forces. For some time now, we have had in place a unit of specially trained attack squirrels. It was during one of the diversionary tactics involving the liberation of plant bulbs that the donkey was taken. The mirrorball might be next unless you do as we demand. Money, 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 it's all mine. From Robert the Viking, King of the Elves, Prince of the Cornish Pixies, President of Leprechauns and Prime Minister of the Goblins. Now, if you're new to the show, you won't understand a lot of what's being said there. Regular viewers and listeners will of course already know that Robert isn't quite there, and often mentions the elves that live underneath his stairs, which appear now to be multiplying. I wasn't aware that it was Robert, King of the Elves, who had actually sent over the squirrel. Do you remember the squirrel? The one that stole bulbs from my hanging baskets? Well, apparently, according to this email, it was a diversionary tactic. While the squirrels were stealing the bulbs and I was concerned about that, Robert went in with his elves and stole my donkey. So it's all very worrying. Now, I have to say, Robert, I know a lot of people watching and listening to this show do think I actually run the United Kingdom, but I don't. I am but a small cog in the works. The big cog, and let's face it, he's big, is Gordon Brown. He could be a smaller cog if only he would stop bloomin' well eating so much. My God, he's big. I cannot be a big cog like that. God knows I've tried in the last few months, but now this cog is smaller. This cog is now 12 stone 8 pounds. Just before Christmas, I was 13 stone 4. And you know what? I think I'm fairly happy at 12.8, 12.6 maybe. I reckon 12.5 stone is what I should be. But Robert, you're asking a full apology and extended credit from the British government. You're not having any more credit from us. You are absolute. Iceland is not having any more credit from the British people, dear. What are we going to do? Huh? I think we're in danger at the moment of having the gas cut off from Russia because they're in another row with the Ukraine. We need the money. We can't be giving it out to you lot. You don't give it back. What's going on, Robert? And he says, and the cancelling of all debts. Oh, come on. I know you're a bit poor in Iceland at the moment, but you're not exactly third world, are you? We will consider cancelling all the debts from third world countries who cannot afford to pay. But Robert, the difference is you've got the money there. You're hiding it under your bed. So we're not cancelling that. We need it back. Please start sending it in instalments of £5 million a week for the next 52 weeks. Thank you. Now, we're back on the subject of squirrels. It's from my friend Mark S., who's got his own website, autumnlake.com. Hi Chris, as you described, catching the bulb-napping bandit squirrels red-handed, certainly did. But can I just correct you there? You say squirrels. It was only one. It was only one squirrel, who incidentally I saw in the garden yesterday. This squirrel is getting very, very dodgy, I tell you. Yesterday, he walked across the garden. Bold as brass. What's going on there? Is he trying to... I've just had a thought. Robert, are you sending more squirrels over? You're not having my money. There's no money in the house. It's all in the bank. And they're about to lose most of it as well, I think. Have you been sending more squirrels down? You do scare me. So it's just one squirrel, okay? Mark says, I thought you might enjoy reading about the purple squirrel. Like your bulb napper, he got into something he ought not to have been in, but rather than a meal of flower bulbs, he got a meal of ink. Here's the story. Pupils and staff at a Hampshire school have been baffled over sightings of a purple-coloured squirrel. The animal, named Pete the Purple Squirrel, has been spotted around Meon Cross School's roof in Stubbington. Animal experts were initially at a loss to explain the animal's colour, as squirrels are usually red or grey. But the squirrel has been seen nipping in and out of a building where old computer cartridges are stored, and the ink seems to have rubbed off. Wildlife expert Chris Packham said, I'm wondering whether one of the cartridges has one of two things, either leaked into some water into which the squirrel has bathed or fallen, which seems to be the least likely. He said that squirrels were so curious they would chew anything. Yeah, including my blooming flower bulbs, dear. I know it sounds absurd, but there is no reason why it wouldn't have chewed up an old printer cartridge, perhaps got this on its paw or its mouth and groomed it into its fur. Poor little squirrels. Funny, isn't it, when animals do funny things, don't they? Actually, that would bring me quite nicely onto what I have to tell you today. Pets. Pets become part of the family. We've sat here a couple of times on the show now in the last few years, and people have emailed the show in. People who have had pets that have perhaps passed on. People indeed who have had family members and friends who have passed on. And you indeed have felt the need to write into the show and share that with us. And it comes to me and it gets shared with everyone else. That old expression perhaps, a trouble shared is a trouble halved. I've had cats for quite a number of years now. At the moment, I have a cat called Katie. Now she was my mum's cat. And when mum died in 2000, I took her on. At first, she was vicious. Really vicious. I remember bringing her back here for the first time, and I let her out of her box, and immediately she ran behind the washing machine. What is it with cats and washing machines? They do seem to like it behind there. I don't know why. And I would put my hand in and she would go mad, Katie. Screaming at me. Like that. Do you like that? But over time, I kind of left her to it. And eventually, after a few days, I would put food down, it would go missing. So I knew she was eating. I didn't bother her anymore. I didn't try and pick her up or approach her at all. I waited for her to come to me, and eventually she did. And she's turned into the most friendly, affectionate cat you could possibly want. Always meeting me from work when I get there in the car. She obviously hears the car, and now even sort of, and that sounds a bit mad, breaking into the main part of the house, because both my cats were allowed into the kitchen, but not any further than that, because of an asthma problem that I have with the cats, which in the last few weeks appears to have completely cleared up. After years and years of having a breathing problem with the cats, it stopped. Don't know why, don't know what's happened there. Anyway, Katie's downstairs at this very moment, walking around, but she never really got on with Tiny, who is my older cat. Or, to be more accurate now, was my older cat. Last few days, I've noticed Tiny not eating or drinking. We've already talked about this on the show a while ago. As most of you know, Tiny lived in a shed in the garden. Wasn't a cold shed. There's a heating unit in there. She has a proper bed and her food and her water all in there, changed regularly. She was very happy. She's very much a loner. She was always a loner, Tiny. Always. Allowing you to pick her up and stroke her for maybe no more than a minute at a time, after which she starts growling and you have to put her down. She wants to be put down. That's her, that's Tiny. She was always like that. Well, halfway through last week, I noticed a deterioration in her. The food was not going, and she seemed to be drinking a lot of water. I mean, bowls full of the stuff. I don't know if you've got a cat yourself, but they tend to come over to the water and a few licks and they're off again. She was drinking bowls of water, and then suddenly she just stopped drinking completely and eating. And she wasn't moving. And one day last week, I went into the shed. This would have been about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was a freezing cold day. We've had some really very, very cold weather here in the UK. We're -4, -5. So I've gone in the shed to change the water. Even though she didn't drink it, I would change it anyway and put some more food down. I think at one point she had about four different types of food I'd put down, and well, choose whichever one you want. And she wasn't in there. So I started looking, where can she be? It's freezing cold out here. It's nice and warm in the shed. Also, once again, there was wee in the shed, and she'd stopped leaving the shed to go and do her business. She started doing it in the shed. So I knew there was something wrong then. But Tiny, being as she is, quite often she'd go through these stages and then she'd be all right again. So I went out into the garden and had a look around. I called her, Tiny, where are you? And then I heard this meow. And she was sitting behind a bush. In the freezing cold out there. There was frost on the ground. And I'm like, well, what are you doing out here? She was sitting behind a holly bush, actually. So she didn't move. So I kind of pushed the bush back and picked her up, put her in the shed next to her bed, and she just kind of sat there, meowed a bit, and then came over to me, kind of dragging herself along. She could not lift her back, really, her bum area, her back legs. So I said, I think you better come into the kitchen. So I put her in the kitchen. I noticed her bed in the shed was soaking wet, absolutely soaking wet. Not just damp. You pick it up and water would come out the bottom of it. I knew there was something wrong then. So I moved her into the kitchen. Now, I've got 2 of those cat beds. One belongs to Katie and one's Tiny. I put her in the kitchen and immediately she kind of crawled into the other bed that was in there that was obviously dry and warm. So I then washed her other bed. Various other things during the day I did, and I went to bed, got up again. The bed had been washed. Shoved it in the tumble dryer because cat beds, it would take a long time for it to dry off on its own. So I put it in a tumble dryer. And I looked at Tiny and she was still asleep in the other thing. And she smelt quite bad of wee. Strangely enough, I know there's a particular smell to cat wee, but it actually smelt like human wee. You know the smell. When you get in public toilets, that's how it smelt. And I noticed she was quite wet all over. So I dried the bed, put the other bed next to that one. She didn't really move. I got down with her and gave her a little stroke and whatever, and off I went to work. Came back from work. She had now moved into the bed that I'd just washed. And once again, I picked up the other one that she'd been in, soaking, dripping wet. And quite honestly, I couldn't understand where the water was coming from, because the water and the food had not been touched. So once again, I put the other bed into the washing machine. And I wondered, because the front of the bed is like a flat bit with a bit that goes around the outside. And I thought to myself, maybe the bed is too high because of her age to get over the top. So I went back into the shed and I got a little duvet thing, like a pet duvet that I bought for her not long ago. I think it was back in November. And I thought, well, if I put that on the floor, because in my kitchen it's like a stone floor. And I thought, if I put that down, then that's more at floor level. So it's soft and comfortable, but enough off the cold stone floor. So I put that down as well. In the washing machine went the other beds. On it went again. It's like, now I know what, if we've got any young mothers watching or listening to the show, I know what you go through now with all your nappies and what have you. The washing machine hasn't been off. So I washed that bed. I went to bed, got up in the morning. Same thing again. This time, she's on the duvet. She's on the little duvet in the kitchen. The bed, once again, soaking, dripping wet. Took out one bed from the washing machine, shoved it in the tumble dryer, put the other bed in the washing machine. On went the washing machine. Mopped the floor again. It's quite smelly, but just one of those things, isn't it? It doesn't take long to clear up a floor. And it's at that point that I knew what was going on. You just know, don't you? Anyway, I rang up my sister. She says, you know what you've got to do? I says, no. I said, if I take her to the vet, she's not coming back. I knew that. I knew that 2 days ago. But she's suffering. I said, I don't think she's in any pain. And I still don't think she was in any pain. There was no breathing problems or animal noises. You know, I'm sure one or two of you have heard an animal in pain before, and it is the most awful, awful thing to hear an animal screeching out in pain. You've only got to look on some of these awful websites of animals that have been abused by people. There is a particular video that I saw recently. You may have seen it too. Of a Chinese fur farm. And what happens to those animals is just unforgivable. And I do sometimes wonder, these people who walk around with real fur on them, have you actually looked into how these things are made? Okay. We eat animals, I know. If you were to use the fur off an animal that you have eaten, does that make it okay? I would say yes. Because it's likely that that animal had been humanely killed and then eaten, and then what do you do with the other bit? And I'm not someone to waste things. However, was the animal killed for its fur? No, absolutely not. Don't go along with that. But there is, I mean, you can probably, if you type in something to Google, Chinese fur farm or something like that, you'll probably find the video. But I must warn you, it's not nice, okay? It's not, I'm not telling you this to horrify you. This would be an education to watch that. But it's pretty strong. Beware of that. So we've heard the noises of animals that are in pain. It's not nice. And I don't think she was in any pain, but she was laying there in her own wee. She wasn't eating, she wasn't drinking. She lost so much weight over the last couple of days. She really was. I mean, the thing is, she's a very furry cat, you know, long hair. She's got the most beautiful coat. She's had the most beautiful coat for a long time. So my sister was telling me, a couple of people telling me, you've got to take her to the vet. And I said no. I knew she wasn't coming out there. I let it go on for another day or so. I kept washing her beds, mopping the floor. She'd moved to the other bed, trying to give her something to eat. A couple of times I bent down onto the floor where she was and just stroked her little nose, because she was now also burying her head in the bed itself, so she wasn't lifting her head up. Tiny wasn't one, as I say, to be picked up, but I did get her out of the bed once, and I put her in my arms like a baby, and she put her little head just drooped down onto my arm, and she wasn't moving, but I did get a little bit of a purr, which meant the world to me. My little cat purring. So I went to work again, came back, washed the beds, went to bed, got up in the morning. This would have been on Sunday. Not the best time to want to go to a vet, but there you go. That's the way it is. Went downstairs, and Tiny was laying on her side, breathing, back in the middle of the kitchen floor, with a front paw up and a back paw up, and they were like shaking. And when I looked at her like that, I thought, no, now you need to go to the vet. So I took her down there. I made a phone call around about 11:30 in the morning. Have you got any appointments today? Yes, sir. You know it's Sunday operating hours. I said, yeah, that's okay. I said, it's not a problem. Okay, I can get her in at 3:00. Now it was 10:30. I said, I think she needs to come in now. She said, what's the problem? So I told her. She says, okay, hold on a minute. She said, all right, it's 11:30. Can you get here for 12? So I said, yes. I said, I think I know what needs to be done. Can you tell me how much? Is she very ill? I said, yeah. So they gave me a price, so I knew how much money to take down with me. Took her to the vet. As soon as I got there, literally, I walked in the door and a nurse came out and took her from me. She said, well, can I come in with her? No, we'll just check her out before. And just a minute. Oh, I can't believe the phone's gone now. Let's turn that off there. The nurse took her straight off me, took her through. And then after a little while, came back out, and this had come through, and she told me that she had lost an awful lot of weight, was very, very dehydrated. They can try this, this and this, but in all honesty, they don't think she will pull through, even if they try and do all these things. And after a chat with a lovely lady vet, I decided to sign that bit of paper. I think you know the one. And then they took her in, and that was it. I've got one more photograph that I got the vet to take of me and her in her little basket. And so Tiny's gone. So now she's gone. That little cat that has been with me something between 20 and 25 years. She's kind of known everyone that I've loved. She was a present. So it was actually a birthday present from my little boy years and years ago. And he came up to my flat in Wandsworth and he opened his jacket. I don't see him now, but he's 24 now, my boy. But he opened his jacket and it says, "Happy birthday," and there was this little cat. So that's the sad news I've got for you today. Her name was Tiny. I hope she had a nice life. Now, a couple of hours have passed since it happened. And I think I did the right thing. I've run out of time. Thank you so much for listening and watching the show today. Sorry, a bit emotional this one, wasn't it, eh? But thank you for letting me share it with you. My name's Chris Reardon. This is United Kingdom Talk. I'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye now.